Hey everyone, welcome to our workshop on fundraising. We're excited that you guys are here. We're going to talk about one of the things that is probably the most intimidating for people when it comes to going on a discipleship trip is, man, I got to talk about money. I hate that subject. I don't want to talk about it. But listen, if you really allow the Holy Spirit to move in and speak into the spaces, I think that you guys will be amazed at what people are willing to do and how excited people are to partner with you on this trip. So, Jake, I know you put some scriptures up here. Why don't you go ahead and share those with us?
Yeah, I would not want to have a conversation about fundraising without painting it in the context of 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Now, this scripture says, the one who calls is faithful. He will surely do it. He will do it. So if God is truly calling you to go on a trip, fundraising is a natural process to that calling, but He's going to do it if we obediently follow. And if you pivot to Revelation 19:11, that actually jives really well with this idea of the one who calls, because one of Jesus' names is actually ascribed to Him is faithful and true. So the faithful and one true who called you to go on a trip, He will surely get you there, and He will help you raise the funds. So let's have this conversation, like truly in the context of this truth about our God.
Let's go. God's faithfulness to it. Yes. It's so important because I think that some of you might be like, oh, I can cover the trip. It's okay. I don't need to fundraise, right? Like I have savings, I have a travel budget. This fits in it. It's okay. I don't need to fundraise. I would encourage you to still do so, right? Why? Because again, we want this to be a part of the discipleship process. We want you to see God's faithfulness through this. Sure, you can pay for it. That's great. I still want to invite you to invite other people to help you. And if you end up like, man, but people are giving money, but I can pay for it myself, great. Pay for it and set that money aside to help other people in your team that are trying to get there as well, right? If you want to be a part of this process and still experience it, you don't have to just pocket all the money, right? Like that's money that if you want to, open the door up for other people in your team to be able to join you as well.
Yeah, and also like part of fundraising is about inviting others to actually partner with you and to join with you into seeing what God's going to do. So it's a joint partnership, not just asking for money, but it's a joint partnership in what you're trying to accomplish by sharing your heart, your vision, and the mission you're trying to go on.
Correct. So let's talk about some best practices, some practical tools. We'll start here at the top. Support letter. This still goes a long way. Literally writing a letter and sending it in the snail mail. That might sound crazy, but it still goes a long way. A good equivalent of that is an email. Writing out an email and sending it out to key people in your life that you think will support you. This is great for what we refer to as third level connections, right? So maybe not your mom and dad, right? But your aunt that you see once a year, right? Maybe not your personal mentor, but that professor, that Bible professor that you had, a year ago and really impacted your life. That's a great person to send a letter or an email to. That doesn't mean that you can't send emails and letters out to anyone and everyone. In fact, that actually really works out. Again, you'll be surprised at who writes you a check, right? Your grandma that lives in Michigan, you only get to see once a year. Send her a letter, right? Send her a letter. Help people know what is going on in your life and what is happening. So that's what we mean by solidified target audience. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to people that know you and have a connection to you, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like a strong connection to you. This is why, out of all of these, this is amongst one of the things that is easier to disregard. Meaning that if I don't feel like I'm connected to you in any way, form, or fashion, I just take that letter and I stick it in the mail. I don't have to address you back. I don't have to confirm with you. I don't have to give you an answer. So it's really easy for me to just say, oh, no, thank you, right? Which is why for third connections, the ones that are interested in will engage with you and either write back, ask you questions, call you, or send you a check, right? So one of the things that Jake talks about here is inviting them to join your partner team. We want to use that language, right? And in your letter, what do I say? Be simple, specific, clear, and ask for the support. I can't tell you how many times I have missionaries that reach out to me and say they just want prayer. And I'm like, okay, But then after 3 emails later, I'm like, but how much do you actually need to buy groceries this week, man? And they're like, well, actually, we could use like $200 on its way. Like, you could have opened up with that, bro. You know? So be specific in your asking for support. Yes, ask for prayer, ask for them to be a part of it, to be aware of what's going on, but be specific in saying, hey, I need this much by this date. If you're interested in being a partner with me, I would love for you to join me, right? And follow up with each letter. Can you give me some more information on that, man? What's good ways for them to follow up?
Yeah, so not everybody you write a support letter to, you're actually going to have a personal conversation. Actually, no, I'm mixing up my thoughts here. So you're going to write a support letter, right? But not everybody you reach out to on social media you're going to follow up with. But the people on your support letter that are more personal, like Emmanuel was talking about, are actually people you're going to want to follow up with a phone call after you send the letter out, because what you're trying to lead to is a face-to-face conversation with particularly the support letter demographic. And what that does is allows you to actually begin opening up a more personal, in-person conversation, because people really actually want to know your heart and want to know why this matters to you. And if you can get somebody from a support letter, as a recipient of a support letter, to an in-person conversation, you're actually, what you're doing is you're building a more long-term supporter of somebody that's going to really know what's going on in your life, and you're going to be able to call on in the future if you do end up going on another trip down the road. Yeah. So that is why you really want to follow up with the people that you write this intentional letter to with a phone call. And if you don't meet them in person, at least you still had a phone call conversation.
Right. Correct. So Jake, since we're on that topic, tell us a little bit about the face-to-face. Man, now I got to talk about money, face-to-face people. Like, how do I go about doing that? That's nerve-wracking, right?
Yes. They want to know what you're doing, and they really want to feel connected to you. If somebody feels connected to you, and this is why we use the idea of joining my partner team, it's because you're not asking for money, but you're asking them to join something that God is doing. And as I was thinking about the important thing that it would be if somebody could partner with each of us to know, I wrote these 4 things down. People that understand your vision, your mission, your heart, and God's calling on your life. If somebody really understands the mission, the vision, the heart, and God's calling on your life, they're much more likely to support you because they feel like they're a part of your team. It's like you're building a family. Yep. And that is not going to happen as much in a support letter or on social media as it will face-to-face. The other thing that I wanted to kind of circle back on with the support letter is that is actually like the backbone behind many of the conversations you'll have. So when you write a support letter, you're almost writing an outline that you will then use in a very condensed version in our social media fundraising strategy. So maybe you want to lead into the social media.
Yeah, before we jump in there, like on the face-to-face, what Jake is referring to, people need to know your passion, your testimony. You need to know your own why. It's very hard to ask for support when your only answer is, I don't know, I feel like I need to go, right? Like, you need to know your why, and you need to be able to communicate that why directly, right? Here's with the temptation you need to fight. You need to fight the temptation to make yourself the hero, right? Oh, these people need my help, and if you can help me get down there to help these people, people will see, one, right through it, and also they will ask, in some cases, you're a 20-something-year-old that just graduated college. What can you possibly offer these people, right? So refuse the temptation to make yourself out the hero, and instead, again, have a clear why of like, you know what? God is calling me to take this step. And I'm being obedient. And I think God is really going to do something different in my life. And I'm really excited to connect with these people that God has opened up before me. And I want to learn from them how God is moving in their life, right? When you have a why, it allows me to see that it's worth it for me to invest in you, to see your life transformed. A great example of that is last time I went to Costa Rica with my family. Obviously I was leading that trip, so it was a business trip, quote unquote, for me, but not for my family. We had to raise funds for my son specifically. I have at the time, he was a 7-year-old son, that went to Costa Rica, right? I had to ask him, I'm like, buddy, why do you want to join me? I know you're excited because dad is going on a trip. This kid grew up in airports. Like, he's been in more airport lounges than bouncy houses. So I'm like, I get that you're excited to go on another trip and you experience another culture. That's cool. But why do you want to go? And having that why coming out of him allowed me to communicate to people that were willing to support him. And his big why was basically, I love the people there and I want to see what God is doing there. I'm like, okay. We were able to communicate that information in our fundraising. People gave to help him get to Costa Rica, and that trip changed his life. I shared this before at an FSM banquet. That trip, he came back, and one of the things that he said to me, we're in my living room, and he walks in with his Bible and a highlighter, and he tells me, this book used to be just a book for me, but it's different now. Like, that trip helped him solidify his understanding of grace and who God is. That trip discipled him, transformed him, right? If you can solidify that why of I'm going there because God needs to speak to me, then I think that you guys will get a lot of really good results. So that translates to your face-to-face. Ultimately, as Jake said, this will help you build a bit of an outline that you can kind of shrink and summarize for the wild, busy, and loud world of social media. Do not discount social media. In fact, most of my son's sponsorships came from social media. Do not discount social media. Solidify a target audience, meaning that know who you're speaking to, right? This is going to be very different language than your support letter. Here, very formal, very welcoming, very paced, very slow. Hey, how are you? I'm Emmanuel Escobar. Nice to meet you, right? Here, you're hype. You're excited. Let me tell you about something awesome that's happening, and I want you to be a part of it. Why? Because most places, at the most, you have 1 minute. Like, to be really functional in social media, you have at the most 1 minute. In reality, you have 30 seconds, right? So you really need to make sure that you're aware of who your audience is and what information you are giving them. So it's a condensed version of your support letter. Why are you going? What are you doing? How can I help? Just answer those 3 questions. Why are you going? What are you doing? How I can help. If you can knock those out in 1 minute, you'll be in really good shape. Share your story. Now, here's the thing too. It doesn't need to be one post and you're done. If you're like, my story is too complex, okay, share part 1. A week later, share part 2. Share part 3, part 4, however many times you need, right? Keep posting and keep making noise so that people are aware of what's going on. Giving them an easy next step. Every one of you guys that signs up and registers and pays your fee, I don't know what else to call it, on managed missions, you will get an individual URL code to fundraise for you. And that URL code is not just secure, but it's actually going to have all the information needed for people to be able to donate directly to you via online. You can reach out to myself or Jake to get that code, and we'll give that to you. And all you got to do is copy and paste that code, using it through your social media, using it online. They'll make it super easy for people to be able to donate to you. And you yourself can use that code yourself for, hey, I'm picking up a couple extra shifts at work so I can raise some money. Once you got that money, you can use that code to submit it into your account as well. All right, now, this written plan is incredibly important, and I want you, Jake, to talk about why this is such a foundational place in fundraising.
Well, you can have all these great ideas, but if you don't have a plan, it might not happen the way you wanted it to. So one of the great starting points for a written plan is to build a contact list for your support team that we were talking about earlier. And this is the people that first come to mind that you really want to invite into what's going on. And if you start with that, you'll be amazed at what things flow from that, what things fall out of that contact list that you start to build. And if you can put down your needs on paper, you'll be much more likely to meet those needs with your strategies of writing a support letter, using social media, and having face-to-face conversations. Emmanuel, we talked about this plan being super helpful for two types of people. Yeah. One of them being the dreamer. Yeah. So do you want to explain?
Sure. So you need to write this down. Even if you're the person that is like, God is going to provide, good for you. Yes, He is. You're 1,000% right. Without a shadow of a doubt, He will provide. This is great for you to write down so you can look back and go, wow, look at how He provided. You have big hopes. You have big faith. This does not intimidate you. Awesome. Write it down so you can see, man, out of the 20 people that I wrote down, 15 said yes. Holy smokes. Look how good God is. Some of you are planners. Some of you are being dared to do a big, scary thing, and you're like, this is kind of the first time that I'm shooting my shot. Write it down. Why? It will help take this giant, scary thing and make it a small, digestible list of tasks that you can tackle one at a time. You don't have to have this huge faith to believe that God will take you to Costa Rica or Uganda. What you need to have is the faith that God will give you a list of names. Amen. And you can write them out. And then what you need to have is not this faith that God is going to provide for your plane ticket and your vaccine. And all you need to have is the faith that when I call people, some will say yes. And you take it one step at a time so that this big, scary thing seems manageable. Even King David lived this way. When he famously met the big, scary Goliath, what was his answer? He defeated the lion. He defeated the bear. Surely He's coming for you. It's the same thing. God gave me a list of people. God gave me some people that said yes. God gave me some people to email, and some have said yes. It's scary. I'm at the last minute. I still need about $500 to make it to Uganda. He defeated the lion. He defeated the bear. Surely He's going to show up for you here. So whether you have giant faith and you're like, I'm not sweating it, man, God's got it, write it down. And you'll be amazed at how you can look back and see how good God has been. Or if this is too scary, write it down. Take it one small chunk at a time, and it'll seem way more manageable. Jake, can you talk about the 50-50? Because I think this is important because it will help shape the number of people that we reach out to.
Yes. So as you put your faith on paper with a written plan, actually research shows that half of the people you talk to, you engage with in a face-to-face type conversation will end up actually following up with some form of support. So if half the people you talk to are going to end up following up with support, what does that mean? You need to contact twice as much as the amount of people that you were originally planning on contacting to ask for support. Yeah. And so the plan helps you know how many people am I going to contact. If you're trying to raise $1,000, then you need to, and you want to ask $100 per person, well, you need to talk to 10 people. But if half of those people are going to only end up following through in a financial way, you need to talk to 20 people. Right. So really take note of that. That'll inform exactly how many people you want to talk to.
It's important because you could be thinking, oh, I'll just reach out to 10 people. But if 10 people only give you so much money, oh, actually I need to reach out to 30, right? That changes the number that you're reaching out to. It might make it more scary for you, but again, mathematically, this actually kind of ensures that you get to where you need to go. Rather have that knowledge now than halfway through your fundraising be like, why is nobody giving me money? Well, you just haven't reached out to enough people, right? So that's important information to have. And again, knowing what you need helps to bring clarity when you ask. Give people numbers. I'm telling you, as a serve pastor, the biggest fight that I have with missionaries is give me a number. Oh, whatever you feel. How much do you need? You need a van for medical care. Got it. How much do you need for this van for medical care, right? You're planting a new campus. How much do you need? A new class. How much do you need, right? So be clear with people. Hey, I need this much to make it to Uganda. I'm at this much. If you can help me with $200, that would be amazing. I'm asking everybody to give $200. If they want to give more, that's welcome. If they can give less, that's not an issue. But I'm making the ask of $200, right? Being specific with people goes a really long way.
Amen.
All right. Let's go to the next one. Ready to move on.
All right.
So, conversational tips. Again, make specific asks, amount, a range. Let people know what is it that you are hoping for. This is big. The goal is not a yes, but an answer. Not everyone's going to give you a yes right off the bat. You might get a, hey, let me pray about this. I know at least for me and my family and my wife, like when somebody's asking us for support, we kind of have committed ourselves to never say yes then and there. Even if we're like really excited about it. If we're like, oh my gosh, yes, dude, like I'll write you a check right now. We have committed ourselves not to give people a yes. Why? Because I want to act out of obedience, right? So I'm going to take the time to go to the Holy Spirit and say, God, I'm really excited about what they're doing. I want to be a part of it. Am I the one to be a part of it? Or is this for somebody else to do, right? So again, the goal is not necessarily a yes, but an answer. Even if it's a no, hey, thank you. Could you please be praying for me during that time, right? Like, could you be praying for me now because I am looking for people that will help me fund. Can you help pray that God opens a door for that, right? Give them time to discern if it's something they feel that they're called to do. Don't be offended if people are like, oh, sorry, no, thank you. Again, we want people to be obedient, right? So if you're not the person there to fund, then why are we sweating it, right? God is the one that does provision. He's the one that's enough. Doesn't matter if a person can help or not, right? Take pressure off of them and yourself. Again, let them know, hey, listen, God's got me. I'm not sweating this. I'm experiencing this because I'm opening the space for people to be generous to me, right? But it's all right. I'm going to make it to Uganda. I'm going to make it to Costa Rica one way or another. And lastly, remember, this is about God providing for both of you. Not just you, but the other person as well. So lead your conversation with, how can I be for you? How can I pray for you? What is it that you're needing right now? How can I be in prayer with you? And as you're having conversations with these people, follow up on that. Hey, how's your mom, man? Did she get out of the hospital okay? Everything all right? Hey, how was that term paper you were working on? Everything okay, right? Like, follow up before people. This isn't just about you. This is about God showing His generosity and His kindness to both of you, you and the person that you're looking for support.
Yeah, and going into this conversation, I think it's important that we walk into a conversation with somebody recognizing there are two distinct needs that we have. One of them is spiritual, the other is material. So we've talked a lot about the material in this sort of discussion, but if we realize that nothing eternally significant can happen without the act of prayer, then we would actually be very interested in also raising up support, as in prayerful support. Even, for example, you can do that while you're overseas or while you're in another country. Have a list of people praying for you. Because I have a friend, for example, who is in Eurasia, and he's in the Middle East serving, and he knew that he was going to get the support, the financial support. He had all the connections, but he realized that if I get all the support, I might not still accomplish everything that God has for me unless I also partner with His saints in prayer. Yeah. So he raised up somebody to pray for him every day for 3 months. For 3 months, every day someone would be praying for him. So imagine what prayer and material support can do together. And so let's also make sure when we go into these conversations, we know we need prayer as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jake. All right, these are things that we talked about. Language to use, discipleship trip, not mission trip, right? Again, that will help you change your conversation with people. And join my partner team, right? Again, you're asking people to join you in a partnership. All right, guys, here's the QR code. If you guys are needing any information, you can scan this QR code. It'll send you straight to our Discipleship Trips page that has all this information, including this video is going to be living in there as well. If you guys want to watch it and be like, wait, what did they talk about? You can see it there. Talking about our Discipleship Trips in 2024. Thank you guys for joining us and being a part of this conversation. Let us know if you guys got any questions, and we hope that you will join us on a Discipleship Trip soon.